Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Slime, Season 4.
Yep, Slime, Season 4, Episode 12. Welcome back to the Dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo, and well, last week we handled the Chaos Dragon. Gaia is a thing. We talked a little bit about that and the implications of the gacha game spoiling that whole situation. That was weird. Considering I mentioned how they do the story, they just put out the next section of the story, and it's where all the different people from the Force of Jura come to swear fealty to Rimuru from last season. That's where the game is at in the story. So like halfway through last season, like after the Hinata duel. So the Gaia thing really boggles my mind at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the deal was with that. But, maybe Fuse okayed it or something. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see when Gaia actually hatches, because then we can point to how far ahead the game spoiled it. But, the Maribel situation is dealt with, as we can see in the first frame of this episode, though Granville looks like he's looking at her body, or somebody that looks vaguely similar to her, so we'll have to see what's going on with that. Obviously, we know that Granville and that situation with the Rotos is not over, because Granville will probably attempt to do something based on his, former rivalry with Luminous. So he's probably going to try to go out in a blaze of glory at some point. And once again, we're a little over halfway through the actual content of the series, so there's still a lot to get to. So whatever's next, it is what it is. You know what I mean? We'll just have to see. Up for whatever. We talked about it, so we'll just have to see what the fallout is. What's next? So we're gonna push some buttons and get going here. So people on Patreon will see on the other side of the edit for the time reaction, and people on YouTube Beyond will see on the other side for the discussion and review and all the various links to all the stuff we do. It's down there in the description for your viewing pleasure. So anyway, here goes something. Well, alrighty then, there you guys have it. Lots of stuff to cover in this episode. First being that Granville looks like he's a man on a mission at this point, trying to finish the job that he apparently started a long time ago against Luminous. That's his first step. Promising his probable wife, that he's going to not give up and make the most of what time he has left, which, if he has been around as long as he is and has been, and he's apparently potentially probably a vampire like we think he is, then he shouldn't have to worry about old age, but I don't know how that works for their universe.
Yeah, presumably he isn't a vampire if he's talking about having a limited amount of time, because vampires generally don't age. And from everything we've seen in this universe, they don't, because Luminous has been around for thousands of years at this point.
Yeah.
Which, admittedly, she is a demon lord on top of being a vampire, but generally speaking, vampires just don't age.
Yeah.
So he probably isn't a vampire. He's just been using some other method to extend his life for the 1,000 or so years that he's been living.
Right. So we have to put a pin in that. We'll just have to see what happens with that. We had Rimuru in a fairly classic location where he just kind of hangs out in a weird spot, like on a tree stump or just somewhere. And this time he was in a tree overlooking Tempest. It's like one of his favorite locations. This is probably that same tree where, he had that heart-to-heart with Yom and, almost dismissed Diablo, much to his dismay. This is the tree, you guys. I think this is the tree. So, yeah.
There's the one tree that's on the outskirts of Tempest, but as Tempest has grown, it's just been kind of being encroached on.
Yeah, but we had all the different stuff that happened here. We have them establishing the 3 branches of government. That whole situation. Discussed that. This was meeting adjacent technically, but once again, this is world building. Like I said, if you're not a fan of world building, then this is probably not going to be your thing. And that is what it is. I've grown to accept it and enjoy it for what it is. So what it is. But like I jokingly said before in the reaction, hopefully they don't f up the base like the U.S. has, because this is just the United States government system. The three branches. They're supposed to check each other.
Yeah, I mean, he's basing it off of the Japanese government system,
yeah,
which is based off of the American government system.
Yeah. Because when Japan retooled their system in the early 1900s for the more modern age now that they've been kind of holding on to, they just basically took the vast majority of the stuff from like the U.S. Constitution and everything that the founding fathers came up with and rolled with that as their new thing for the most part.
Yeah, following World War II, they reformed most of their government to follow a lot of the American government standards.
Now, to be fair, they probably run it better than we do. They probably have slightly less corruption than we do, but it's a reasonable system when it's people in power like the Nevada governor abusing their power. That's what my joke in the reaction was. If you guys didn't hear about this, I think I might have mentioned it last week too. Was the Nevada governor recently got pulled over for violating a law that he signed into law and was his idea, and then told the cop, "Do you know who I am?" And the cop kind of like hand waved it. It's like, yeah, hi. It's like, if I was that cop, I'd be writing the ticket going, I don't care who you are. You especially should be the one obeying the law that you came up with, nerd.
Yeah, the big problem with the U.S. is like implementation compared to Japan's is the fact that Japan is a small unified country, whereas the U.S. is one of the biggest countries by landmass, and we have states that each have their own ways of doing things and their own levels of corruption that infringes on each other and so on.
Yeah, the United in United States is a pretty loose term at this point, and more just a name, not an actual hard meaning like the original implementation was supposed to be. I mean, you got stuff different at the county level for us, so in Japanese terms, that'd be like every prefecture having different, slightly different stuff going on.
They do have some prefectural law shenanigans, like, once again, the whole thing of like the age of consent shenanigans varies from prefecture to prefecture. Like, as a country, 16 is their age of consent, but based on the prefecture you're in, it could be as low as like 13, or in like Tokyo, it's 18.
Yep. So we have that going on. It'll be interesting to see who. It's basically was seeded here that whoever Diablo comes back with is probably going to be one of the heads of state, because like Rimuru was thinking about while he was tucking Malim and Gaia's egg in with that nice little sequence that they threw in there. That was really cool. But it's like, wait a minute, didn't Diablo want subordinates so he didn't have to do that kind of crap?
Yeah, Diablo wants to exclusively work as Rimuru's secretary and butler.
Yeah.
He doesn't want any of this political bullshit. That's the one reason why he wanted the subordinate.
Yeah, so whoever he comes back with, that's probably going to be their problem. Which I assume that'll be at some point here soon, because he's been gone for like half the season at this point.
I mean, it was like episode like 2 or 3 that he asked for the subordinate and ran off.
Yeah.
Which, once again, presuming it is Violet, that is more Violet's MO anyway, because she's more of the freaking the charismatic manipulator. Yeah,
that's probably something she'd like to do. So we've been under the assumption that it's probably her. So it'll be interesting to see who it is. It's probably her, because, like we said, he had that whole bet with her, and now he can just lord it over her. That I'm the reason you got named. So I double win our bet. Anyway, next up on the docket was Probe. Rimuru gave him that idea about putting magic into swords and other kind of weapons, and well, he basically created materia
Yeah.
So that's all we really have to say about that. I mean, we saw what it's capable of. It has slightly different usefulness, or not usefulness, but you could call it versatility and power impact than general materia, because materia in Final Fantasy gives you the power to cast fire magic or wind magic or whatever it is, summon an extra effect, the double edge, whatever you're using throughout the various
this
effects
actually
of
combines the elements.
Yeah, this combines elements in the fact that he showed off that if you just slot that fire gem in, you get a fire attack, not unlike Ariane's fire attack from Skeleton Knight that we just did. Crazy how everything's connected. If you put a water thing in there with it, it dulls the effect of the fire attack. But if you slot a second fire thing in, it becomes a vapor explosion, and the effect is like 10 times stronger. So, as Raphael was pointing out during this whole situation, was that the possibilities are, well, there's a number there. I'm not going to do that math. I don't know how many different kinds of materia they have. If they just have the 4 elements, then I don't know. With 3 slots, that's several hundred combinations, bare minimum.
Not that many. It'd be like 27 or something like that.
27. Yeah, I don't know how that math works out at,
That's just me spitballing it.
Yeah.
I'd have to actually take a second to come up with the actual number.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but either way, we had this. This was cool. We got guns. Now we got this. They have options. And then we had the whole what Rimuru's sword was doing in his fight with Yuki. And when Kurobe forged this weapon for him, for those of you who don't remember, he did say this weapon was going to grow with Rimuru. So it had the capability of improving and becoming more in tune with... Well, while it became more in tune with Rimuru, it would, get stronger. So he points out that it was Scarletite or something that Raphael calls it. And according to Kurobe, that is some, legendary god-grade metal that he's only heard about in stories. And apparently the only other weapons are... They did show it, and there was a frame. I mentioned it during... There it is. That that red sword there, second on the left. I forget what it's called. It's some kind of rose blade, but that's Luminous's sword. It's oh yeah, okay. So we got Night Rose is the second one, which is Luminous's blade. We got Tanma. That looks like Tanma. We've got...
Well, it's very Tengu-esque, so it's probably in possession of again, what's her face, the friggin' Hakuro's old lover.
Yeah. Then we've got Flame Pillar and Truth is the last one. So I assume Flame Pillar is Leon's weapon, because it looked like he had more of a fencing blade, and that's looks more what that is. And as for Truth, no idea.
He's always been more fire oriented and more fencing style, because he was the one who initially taught Shizu how to fight.
Yeah. So we got that. That was cool. It'll be interesting to see if more of these weapons come into the other 3. We obviously know Night Rose, that's Luminous's blade. Flame Pillar is probably Leon's. That Tengu blade probably belongs to the Tengu. And as for Truth, I don't know. Maybe something one of the dragons has or something like that.
It could be one of the dragon's weapons. It could be off at the Empire somewhere. I don't have any info on it yet.
Yep. So we got to hang out with Geld for a little bit. That was fun. He got over his whole problem last season that they brought up here was the orcs are like the Borg. they're a hive mind, basically. When Geld wants something done, it's just boom. They understand what he wants, no problem. It's easy. Dealing with all the different kinds of personalities and different Majin that he's had to deal with, it became a thing, and he basically took the Rimuru approach and, allowed them to air their grievances, and, it was kind of like that Iroh moment in The Last Airbender, the animated version anyway, where he explains to everybody, like, Zuko's past and stuff like that, and they basically, had a couple beers and talked it out, and, they, the Majin had a reasonable grievance, like, hey, once we finish this work, what happens to us then? That's a reasonable concern, you know what I mean? Because most of these Majin used to be Clayman's army, because Rimuru literally took them as a indentured workforce to rebuild Eurozania. That was the whole purpose. In case anybody forgot. It's been a while, but that's what Rimuru did. All the Majin under Clayman's command were taken alive and, told, hey, your two choices are death or work it off. So that's what these guys are. And then they were, obviously, them being in that position would still have the concern of, well, what happens to us when after we work it off? Then what? That's a reasonable concern. You know what I mean? So, but Geld handled it. That's great to see that for his character growth and whatnot. So he can deal with workers and subordinates that aren't orcs. You know what I mean? He can handle people in a normal sense, not just the orc sense. So that's good for his character. So they'll be working on Eurozania in the background. I'm sure all the roads and stuff that they showed off this episode, all the world building, that's great to see progress. All the different places that they showed off here, that's great. It's nice to see that. I appreciate those locales and things for what they are. It's nice to see, just kind of like do a quick check-in to see what's going on. Like here with Edgar. This was hilarious. Every time he's on screen, he seems to be losing his mind. Can't say I blame him. But, he had to break the news that Mulan is pregnant. And that Grucius is fucking dead. So, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, though, with Grucius's whole thing was he basically said that Yom and Mir could do whatever the hell they wanted. He was just going to wait till Yom was dead to make his move on Mir.
Yeah. But still, I mean... Full-on Markiplier. Wait, they had the sex? So that's probably why he's dead. But it's nice to get these check-ins from time to time on just various things. We did have that thing at the beginning of the episode with, like, I believe those were Maribel's parents that were talking to Rimuru. And kind of like, because they're still technically part of the council. The Roto Nation faction is still part of the Council of the West. So they had to kind of like, do that whole thing.
Yeah, one thing we never actually got like officially stated was that Maribel's parents were the king and queen of Roto.
Yeah.
Like, we knew that they had connections to Granville being, Maribel's grandfather, but we never got it like officially stated that they were the king and queen and that she was the princess.
Yeah. But either way, just a lot to take in this episode. It was great across the board for what it was. Just lots of things that Hughes has seeded throughout the series, and they're coming to fruition and whatnot. Ramirez and Veldora continuing to just be characters. If they're not being grandiose and ridiculous, then what are they even doing? You know what I mean? It's like, no, you have to come here. Can't tell you what it is. And it was the unveiling of the Magitrain. They got it done. Relatively quickly. But, when you have a bunch of people with a shared goal and basically a pretty reasonable roadmap to what is wanted, all they have to do is kind of put it together. So, great. The Magitrain is now in full beta mode, basically. Full prototype mode. It's being fueled by a salamander, which, in case anybody forgot what that is, those were the things that Ifrit summoned in Season 1 to help it fight as like a summon. So it's not like a greater flame spirit, but it's like the difference between like Ifrit, it's like flame spirit, salamander, then like the Ifrit level of kind of elemental. So It's kind of like a mid-tier, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, and then apparently they based this new type of magic core off of Ramirez's Colossus's, which people still tend to discredit Ramirez because she seems weak for the rest of the Demon Lords and she's a little spaz, but people also forget she's over 10,000 years old and actually has a lot of technical know-how for things. Like, her whole shtick, once again, is spatial magic, which takes a lot of freaking effort and calculations and building magical machinery.
Right. So Ramirez has definitely way more going for her than she is given credit for. But yeah, this was impressive. Again, they even had. Did you guys see that? They even had the elves here that are studying the environmental impact on this technology. So next season when they show up and tell us that all the times Captain Picard used Warp 10 and it screwed up the space-time continuum, then you can be mad about the environmental impact.
Yeah, which, to be fair, like we've talked about how there is no traditional pollution to be had in this situation. But, excessive magic use could still have negative effects on the environment.
Yeah.
Like we've seen that like excessive magic exposure in like the cave causes the magic crystals to start forming everywhere and stuff like that, which can alter the environment and mutate the friggin' wildlife.
Right. And as they pointed out, the Hippocate herb is just a weed that's been subjected to magicules. That's it. Yeah. So it will be interesting to see what comes of that. But once again, if something was truly wrong, I'm sure Trainee and the rest of the Dryads would be like, hey, something's wrong. That's like their entire life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're Dryads. They're part of the forest. So if something was happening in the forest, they know about it.
Right. So either way, it's nice to see just a bunch of things coming together. We once again, we got introduced to this team here, and then we had the random just... Where is this guy? There he is.
Fucking...
It's just... Oh yeah, it's like, who's this guy? Oh, he's just like some vampire engineer. It's like... This has to be somebody that Fuse knows in real life. It has to be. You know what I mean?
I mean, he looks a lot like freaking... from Vincent from friggin' what the frick is the name of the game? But it's one of the other big Atlas games that technically takes place in the Persona universe. Catherine,
yeah.
He doesn't really act like Vincent. Freaking Vincent isn't. Vincent is more of like a nervous wreck kind of character, but he looks almost identical to him.
Yeah. But either way, that's something you don't see every day, is vampire engineer. So that's something that definitely feels like a shout out to something that we probably don't know without knowing Fuse better, because there was no like bearing to this character. I mean, yeah, we know vampires are out there, but yeah, I guess Luminous did say that she wanted to do technological trade and that she'd be sending people, so maybe this is one of the people. He does have vampires under her that are interested in magic and engineering and stuff, so he's probably the guy that she sent.
Yeah, not all vampires are under Luminous, but but predominantly they are part of Luminous's faction.
Right. So I just assume that he's the character that is associated with that for Luminous. Yeah, we had all this stuff go on that was neat, and once again, it devolved into a party. There are a bunch of like hilarious stills in here for various characters and stuff like that. The most telling one was obviously I wanted to stop on it anyway, but it's when they finally panned to Soe here, and he has like a bunch of like, yes, Hakuro's still running his stall. Triss is probably still losing her mind that she's remember how she fainted when she found out that Rimuru was like the leader of the nation and all that crap? Yeah, she's probably still getting over that, hanging out with Yuki there. Yes, it was this. I'm not sure who the person is sitting next to Soe there is, but they're giving him the stink eye of like, look at all these women fawning over you, and Soka's just in the background like, yeah, I have to put up with this.
Yeah, which we already know Soka has a major crush on him.
Yep. So it was a pretty just interesting backdrop. Apparently, Beretta of all people is now a bartender, moonlighting as bartender because she's just all over the place doing stuff too. But yes, it definitely appears
she's essentially Ramirez's equivalent to Diablo.
Yeah,
she just kind of does whatever the hell Ramirez tells her to, and she's just kind of good at everything.
Yeah. But either way, a lot of these stills were fun and hilarious. Gotta appreciate them for what they are. And then we got Gaia hatching, so my still from last week is not as big of a spoiler as I thought it might be. And I did say it was a slight spoiler because, you know, the game kind of spoiled it way before this. Even with this being episode 12, like I said, that event came out around the time like episode 6 came out. So that was way before Gaia. But we got Gaia. That was cool. There he is. And unsurprisingly, he showed up during another big-ass party. Because who doesn't show up at a party for the first time?
Yeah, but, which we also got the context of, once again, that this is like a month later, so there has been some time for the egg to hatch.
Yeah. But either way, that definitely felt like a concrete end to the first core. You know what I mean? Based on all this stuff going on here. So, yeah, we'll be...
we once again sidestep the EP.
Yeah, we once again sidestep the EP for this, because, you know, Maribella's gone, obviously. So, it will be interesting to see what we tackle next of the myriad of things that we could tackle. So... Yeah, I assume Diablo, because the last thing I wanted to mention here was when they were going off on the 3 branches of government stuff, they said they needed beings of reasonably strong power to be the heads of state. So I assume whoever Diablo's bringing back will be one of them. Assuming it's Violet like we think it's going to be. You know what I mean? Then she'll probably be the military liaison that Rimuru was talking about, because, like, he remembered, oh yeah, Diablo wanted a subordinate so he didn't have to do this. So...
yeah, they made specific note of they have to be, like, you know, charismatic and capable of their job, but also they need to be strong, because it's a natural, the nature of monsters is might makes right, so they aren't really willing to take orders of people who are weaker than them. Yeah.
So Primordial Violet would probably fit the bill pretty well based on everything we saw of her. She's reasonably strong, obviously, and compared to, you know, the others, she's on par with, you know, whatever. And then her charismatic and devious nature would serve her well in that.
Which, as you were initially bringing this whole thing up, I had a random thought, but you were like talking about how needing the 3 heads of state and stuff like that. There's specifically 3 heads of state we need. And 3
God.
Primordial demon.
Yeah, what if he just comes back with all 3 of the girls? I mean, they need 3 heads of state, and yeah, I mean,
3 unnamed primordial demons at the moment.
Yeah, so oh man, those goblins that are at the head of each branch are gonna have a real rough go if their bosses are primordial demons that have now been potentially named. I don't envy those 3 goblins that have been there from the start. Those are like 3 of the original gobs. They've been around since the beginning.
Yeah, they're 3 like the original elders.
Yeah. So it's nice to see them still getting use. But yeah, if they need 3, then I guess that's a distinct possibility, because as you can see, we got legislative, executive, and judicial. So, I mean, I guess you would put Violet in executive. I don't know much about the other 2, so you know.
I don't really know much about Blonde, but she could potentially be legislative, and then judicial would be Jean.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll just have to see. But yeah, that's that's an excellent point to bring up. Is like we talked about the whole Violet thing, but now with this episode, it's like, what if Diablo's just going to pick all of them up and really wants to lord it over all three of them? Which I don't know if he had a bet with the other two, but we know he had the bet with Violet, and she was mad about it. But
yeah, we know he has a standing rivalry with Violet, but we also know that Violet and Blanc are supposed to be relatively on par power-wise, so he could potentially strong-arm Blanc into coming as well. The real problem one would potentially be Jean, because as far as I know, she's supposed to basically be on par with Diablo in power, so he couldn't really strong-arm her into coming. He would have to actually convince her, probably.
Yeah, which, I mean, I believe he knows that Rimuru has a minor gripe with Leon, so that might be enough for her to show up at least. Because she likes bombing him. So, yeah, that's a terrifying thought. That would mean if that is the case, Rimuru would have 4 of the primal demons at his disposal.
So like I said, I know he gets at least one of them, and they get named Ultima, but I still don't know which one that is, and if that's all he gets.
Right.
I just know that, once again, he has Diablo and Ultima, and that it's like a known thing that he names them after supercars.
Yeah. So there are plenty of other supercars to go after out there. It's not just Ultima, which again is a British supercar that's like a mononym, like a DeLorean, if I remember correctly. I think it was just a one-off vehicle that was a supercar. And then Diablo is Ferrari or Lamborghini. I forget which one. It's Lamborghini. Yeah, it's Lamborghini. But yeah, so if that's the case, that would be pretty terrifyingly hilarious. But yeah, we'll just have to see what's next. But based on this, that's kind of what they're hinting at, don't you think? So
yeah, that's what, as you were saying, that was like the first thing that kind of just came to mind of like, we're potentially putting one primordial demon. Am I dead?
Are we dead?
I'm dying.
Looks fine.
I think it's good now.
Yeah, I didn't lose anything on my end.
You were totally frozen for me, so I assumed I was dying.
Oh.
But yeah, we're already potentially putting one into one of these seats, and there's conveniently 3 seats and 3 unnamed demons at the moment.
Yeah. So that will be something. But yeah, another solid episode. A solid way to wrap up this core, I assume, based on the way everything happened. And we'll just have to wait till next time to see what the next big thing is, because like I said, there's still about half the series to go, episode run wise. We probably still got another 60 some odd episodes about so no, more like 50, but still somewhere in the 50-60 range, because they said this was going to be 5 cores, so with 4 cores left, that's about 48 episodes still. So a little over like 40% of the series about at this point. So still got plenty to get to.
Also, to add to that whole like 3 demons, 3 seats thing, part of what also led to me thinking about that is the frickin' Rieger specifically points out that generally the stronger the monster, the less good they are at like office work and other technical things.
Yeah.
But we've seen on a number of occasions now that the primordial demons are both strong and good at that kind of work.
Yeah.
At least the ones we've seen, like freaking once again, Rain and Misery are full-on maids. Diablo's does all his butler and secretary shenanigans, and then Guy is the head of the demon lords.
Yeah. So it will be interesting to see where we go from here. I'm excited to see the second core kick off whatever happens next time. But A lot of stuff on the plate. Excited for all of it. Should be fun. Ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond time for watching. As always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more anime night in the dojo. And this was Slime, Season 4, Episode 12. So have a good morning, evening, afternoon. Whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hello again, everyone. Victoria here. Don't forget about those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is always appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.